It's funny, the things you don't even think about. For me, it was pouring my morning coffee. The whole ritual, the warmth of the mug, the smell, the promise of just another normal day. I'd been living with type 2 diabetes for years, and I figured I was managing it just fine with a pill here and there. Life was busy. I had a family to love, trails to hike. I felt fine. Better than fine, actually. I felt invincible. I never in a million years imagined my own body was quietly building a case against me. And I definitely never imagined a doctor looking at me with a seriousness that just sucked the air out of the room, telling me my kidneys, the silent, tireless filters of my life, were failing. That's how my world fell apart. Not with some loud explosion, but with one quiet, clinical sentence. It was the beginning of a terrifying freefall into diabetic kidney disease, a world of fear, of confusion, and of a fight I never knew I had in me. Diabetic kidney disease, DKD. The doctor called it a silent killer, and man, did I get it now. Looking back, my body had been sending out little flares for months, maybe even years, but I just wasn't paying attention. I was more tired than usual, but who isn't? I was getting up at night to pee more often, but I just chalked that up to getting older. My ankles would get a little puffy by the end of the day, but I'd just kick my feet up and they'd be fine by morning. They were just minor annoyances, or so I thought. They weren't. They were the classic, often ignored warning signs, but the real proof was in my lab results. Numbers on a page that I used to just glance at were suddenly screaming at me. My eGFR, that's the estimated glomerular filtration rate, a fancy term for how well your kidneys are cleaning your blood, was plummeting. My urine test showed something called albuminuria, which meant my kidneys were leaking protein. The doctor described it as a sieve with holes that were getting bigger and bigger. The diagnosis felt like a total betrayal. I thought I was doing okay with my diabetes. I took my pills, I tried to eat well, most of the time. But the hard truth? I was complacent. I didn't truly get how high blood sugar, day after day, year after year, just relentlessly attacks the tiny, delicate blood vessels in your kidneys. It's a slow, quiet demolition. You don't feel a thing until a huge chunk of your kidney function is already gone. And in that silence, I had lost a lot of ground. The doctor started talking about dialysis, about transplant lists. Words that belonged in a movie, not in my life, were suddenly my reality. The fear was suffocating. I went home that day, looked at my coffee maker, and it felt like a relic from a life I didn't live anymore. Those first few months were just a blur of despair. I felt like I was strapped into a car heading straight for a cliff, and I couldn't find the brakes. Every doctor's appointment was another wave of bad news. My blood pressure, always a bit high, was now stubbornly out of control, another sign of worsening kidney disease. I was buried in pamphlets with lists of foods I couldn't eat. All of a sudden, things I never thought about, sodium, potassium, phosphorus, were my sworn enemies. Every meal felt like a complex chemistry experiment I was guaranteed to fail. I became afraid of food, afraid of every little ache or twinge in my body. The emotional weight was crushing. I felt broken. My body, this machine that had carried me up mountains and through marathons, now felt fragile and useless. I'd look at my family and just feel this wave of guilt, like I'd personally let them all down. There were so many nights I'd just lie awake, my mind racing, picturing a future hooked up to a dialysis machine. It felt like my whole world was shrinking, the bright colors of my life just fading to a dull, hospital gray. I was drowning in medical terms: eGFR, ACE inhibitors, albumin to creatinine ratio. I'd sit there in the doctor's office and nod like I understood, but really it was a tidal wave of information I just couldn't process. The first treatment plan they gave me felt so negative. It was all about what I couldn't do, what I couldn't eat. It was a life of subtraction, and I felt like I was shrinking right along with it. Hope wasn't just gone. It felt like a silly thing I'd been naive to ever believe in. I was just trying to slow the inevitable. The idea of actually fighting back? That hadn't even crossed my mind. That felt like pure fantasy. My turning point didn't come from some miracle cure. It happened in a follow-up appointment with my nephrologist, my kidney specialist. I was at rock bottom, completely resigned to my fate. I came in with a notebook full of nervous questions, but when she walked in, she didn't look at my chart first. She looked right at me. She asked about my hiking, about my family, about the things I loved to do before all this started. For the first time in a long time, I felt like a person again, not just a set of failing numbers. And then she said something that changed my entire world. "Your kidneys are damaged, that's true," she said. "But the story isn't over. For a long time, we had very limited tools, but the game has changed in just the last few years. We have new strategies, new medicines. This isn't just about slowing things down anymore. This is about fighting back." It was like someone threw open a window in a dark, stuffy room. That single idea, that there had been recent significant breakthroughs, was like a bolt of lightning. She explained that for decades the main treatment was controlling blood pressure with drugs like ACE inhibitors and ARBs. "Those are still vital," she said, "but for nearly 20 years they were pretty much the only tool in the box." Now that was old news. She started telling me about new classes of drugs that were completely revolutionizing diabetic kidney disease care. That conversation was the spark. I went home and, for the first time, didn't just collapse in a heap of despair. I dove into research. I read about the landmark clinical trials she'd mentioned. And slowly I started to understand that this diagnosis wasn't a death sentence. It was a call to action. I realized I couldn't be a passive patient anymore. I had to become the CEO of my own health. I had to build a team, with my doctor as my most valuable player, and we had to draw up a battle plan. The fear was still there, buzzing in the background, but now it was mixed with something else, a fierce, burning resolve. I was finally ready to fight. My comeback was built on 4 key strategies, mixing proven lifestyle changes with the absolute latest in medical science. This is the game plan that didn't just slow my kidney disease down. It stopped it in its tracks and gave me my life back. First, getting serious about the numbers. This was non-negotiable. It meant getting aggressive with my blood sugar and my blood pressure. ACE inhibitors and ARBs have been the gold standard for years in protecting the kidneys, and they are still absolutely essential because they do more than just lower blood pressure. I worked with my doctor to get on the highest dose I could tolerate. We weren't aiming for good enough anymore. We were aiming for optimal. Second, and this was the true game changer, was embracing new medical breakthroughs. This is where the real revolution is happening. My doctor started me on an sglt2 inhibitor. These drugs are incredible. Originally made to lower blood sugar by making you pee out more glucose, scientists discovered they also have amazing protective effects on the heart and kidneys. Landmark studies like EMPA-Kidney showed these drugs dramatically slash the risk of kidney disease getting worse, even in people who already have a lot of damage. Next, we added a GLP-1 receptor agonist. You've probably heard of these drugs for weight loss, but they also provide powerful kidney and cardiovascular benefits. The recent FLOW trial proved that its main ingredient, semaglutide, significantly cuts the risk of kidney failure and death from cardiovascular causes. To top it off, my team added a third new weapon, a non-steroidal MRA called finerenone. This drug specifically targets the inflammation and scarring that wrecks kidneys, adding another layer of defense. Studies show combining these therapies is the new gold standard, attacking the disease from every possible angle. Third was a radical diet and lifestyle overhaul. This was all about giving my body the support it needed. I teamed up with a renal dietitian to create a plan. The main goal was to reduce my kidneys' workload. That meant limiting my protein to the recommended 0.8 grams per kilogram of my body weight. It also meant a strict limit on sodium to get my blood pressure under control. I started eating a diet full of whole grains, fruits and vegetables, a lot like a DASH or Mediterranean diet, and most importantly, I stopped seeing food as the enemy and started seeing it as a powerful tool. On top of that, daily exercise, keeping a healthy weight, and cutting out alcohol became non-negotiables. all proven ways to protect your kidneys. The final piece of the puzzle was active, educated self-management. I became a partner in my own care. I started tracking my blood pressure at home. I kept a detailed log of my blood sugar. I learned how to read my own lab reports so I could have smart conversations with my doctor. I looked into diabetes self-management education and support, DSMES programs, which are designed to help you build the skills you need. I had my team, my nephrologist, my endocrinologist, my dietitian, my primary care doc. We were all in this together. Taking this proactive role was incredibly empowering. It turned me from a patient into a warrior. This whole journey taught me that knowledge is power, and having a community makes you stronger. If you or someone you love is dealing with a diabetic kidney disease diagnosis, please know you are not alone. Share your story. Ask a question in the comments below. Connecting with people who get it is a huge part of the fight. And if my story helped you, please subscribe and join our community. We're all in this together, dedicated to taking back control of our health. Today my life looks different, but honestly, in the best possible way. That dark cloud of fear that used to follow me everywhere has been replaced by a quiet confidence. My lab numbers have stabilized. My eGFR, which was in a total nosedive, is holding steady. My doctors are thrilled. I'm back on the hiking trails, but now I pack my healthy snacks with a real sense of purpose. I still have my morning coffee, but it's no longer just a routine. Now it's a small celebration of a day I fought for, a day I will never, ever take for granted. This isn't a story about some magic cure. I still have diabetes. I still have chronic kidney disease. It takes work every single day, medication, mindful choices, and constant awareness. But it doesn't define me anymore. My diagnosis wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of a more intentional, more grateful, and ultimately more vibrant chapter of my life. I learned that you can live a full, beautiful life with a chronic illness. It's not about trying to get back to the person you were before. It's about evolving into someone stronger and more resilient than you ever knew you could be. My battle with diabetic kidney disease taught me the biggest lesson of my life. Don't ever underestimate your power to change your own story. The breakthroughs in treatment are real. They are here, and they work. A proactive, all-in approach can make all the difference. If you're facing this, I'm urging you, be your own best advocate. Ask the tough questions, demand the latest treatments, and build a team that believes in your fight. There is so much hope now. Your story isn't over either. It's just beginning. It's just